This video is really for people who are in the same situation I was in years ago. You've been learning a language for 1, 2, 3 years at a time, and yet can't do the basic things that you feel like you should be able to do in that time frame. You can't even hold a conversation, and you don't know why. The learning experience will humble you, and I just want for you to be able to skip these mistakes that I made so that you don't have to go through years of learning with nothing to show for it. Hi, I'm Lingo.Lily or Lingo.LilyBug, and I wanted to talk about what not to do when you're learning a language and what I did when I first started learning Japanese, and the reason that I am not fluent in Japanese when I could be at this point. I believe I started learning the language 5 years ago, and here's why I am not fluent in 5 years. A cautionary tale for anyone starting to learn a language. I'm gonna tell you how to not be an idiot. That's very harsh. If you do any of these, you're not an idiot. Language learning is a skill, and skills are acquired over time. You're gonna get better at it, and you're not gonna start off being great at it. And I just wanted to really give you advice on how to not waste your time and how to not end up learning a language and like 5 years later down the line not having anything to show for it, because that's a very discouraging feeling, and I want for you to be able to avoid that if you can. So let's talk about it. Thank you. Now, I said in the previous video that my first language was ASL, my first foreign language. But the first spoken language that I picked up on my own and started learning was Japanese. And I was very excited about the journey. I learned kana in about 2 days, and I was really excited about it. I thought, give me 2.5 years and I will be more than conversational, and I just knew that I was gonna be in no time listening to some of my favorite old anime intros, and I knew that I was going to be consuming Japanese novels and just able to listen to Japanese vloggers without captions, and I was just so ready. I was like, yeah, I'm taking the first steps. Look how fast I learned the writing system. If you know any Japanese at all, you know why that's hilarious. I thought, well, since I'm already picking this up so fast, it's gonna be a breeze, right?
That is not correct.
Very, very wrong. Cannot tell you how wrong. Will tell you how wrong. I then discovered kanji, which I saw and did not even expect to be my downfall. I was really excited. I found Japanese Pot 101, which is, what taught me, those hour-long videos, just like, learn all hiragana in 1 hour. And I was like, bet, learned it. And after some months, after that big boost of confidence, I feel like anyone who's studied a language for some months, you know how that beginning sort of situation is where you aren't using what you're learning. You're just writing lists and like, okay, I studied, so I should be getting better. And that's the expectation that you have, but you're not getting better. I didn't really acknowledge this problem for over a year. I just did the same thing, and then I would not study. I would not study for weeks, and then I would say, okay, to make up for those weeks that I haven't studied, we're gonna learn a long list of words, right? But the thing is, I never reviewed anything, and yet expected myself to remember. On top of never reviewing these things, I wasn't using them in sentences. I was learning these individual bits, and I was not touching grammar. I just took these dissected little pieces and thought that was enough. I for some reason had it in my head that I could speak Japanese without doing that. And then not only would I not speak it, I would not listen to them. I would not listen to the words. I would not listen to spoken Japanese. I would just look at these words, and sometimes I wouldn't even write them out. I would type them. I didn't practice my handwriting. I avoided writing in kanji. I would end up saying in my lessons, oh, I don't have time for that. Just for the sake of it, let me just write it down and hiragana. And it was so unbalanced. you absolutely will not retain anything if you're not using what you're learning, if you're not reviewing it. There is a period of forgetting that is very, very quick once you learn something for the first time. You have to go back to it, and then the next time you can wait a bit longer, then go back to it, wait a bit longer after that, and go back to it until you eventually won't have to. Unless you have a photographic memory, or unless you're someone who's very gifted and special, you're not getting anything. You're not getting anything of value, anything substantial from these attention-grabbing lists and the pretty pictures on Instagram. That's not going to benefit you. What's going to benefit you is starting with sentences that are small enough for you to be able to wrap your head around, and slowly figuring out how to build those sentences, make them a little bit longer, seeing how people use them, using them yourself, repeating them, writing sentences, replying to those sentences like you're having a conversation with yourself, asking for input from native speakers. And if you have access to the internet, which you do because you're watching this, you can do that on so many platforms. HelloTalk, Hi Native, Tandem. You don't have to live near native speakers of your target language to get feedback from them. And you don't have to directly message someone. That's intimidating, that's scary. These sites have places where you can post, just, is this correct? You will get answers. People want to help. People want to help you, they're not gonna laugh at you. Okay? Because this is these are learning spaces. They're designated for people to help each other, okay? I would go from weeks to months without studying. And then I would consume a bunch of random words at a time, expecting for that to make up for that time, not review them, and then that would be lost and it would be gone and be a waste of time. I promise you that learning a little bit every single day, or at least almost every day, will benefit you so much more than cramming after not touching it in a week or two. I promise you. And that's logical, but I feel like a lot of us try to cheat and it doesn't work. You may feel like you're not doing a lot, but you're doing so much more for yourself, I promise you. Consistency is key, and quality over quantity. Just stick with it. Also, something that I didn't do then that I do now is I watch native Japanese speakers. I listen to them. I take pieces and sentences, phrases from Japanese articles, and I try to break those down. I'm just gonna say, stick with native speakers. That's gonna help you a lot, especially when it comes to picking up vocabulary, and just getting a natural flow of how things are said. You really just, you wanna get it right from the source, and you're gonna pick up a lot much faster that way. Comprehensive input is so good. Just low level stuff. I recommend watching some kid shows, and or some vlogs. That's something that I like for me, because it's vocabulary that it's applicable to day-to-day life, usually in vlogs. So yeah, learn from native speakers of the language that you're trying to acquire. That's important. Another thing that I did not do for such a long time that I regret is I didn't use it. When you hear a native speaker of your target language talking, try to mimic them. Try to copy them. They say something, repeat it as you hear it, especially if it's something that you're hearing consistently that's coming up over and over again. If you see something that's written similarly in the language that you're learning by different people, and this person doesn't have a super crazily unique writing style that you can establish, and this is around the standard, try to sort of mimic that. Really embrace what you're consuming and try to mimic that, because that's what's going to help you so much. Listen to the accents, try to copy those accents, because a lot of the times it's not just repeating these things phonetically as you may see them written or as they're sounded out. and how they're romanized. It's really getting into that accent that you hear and mimicking it that's going to make you sound much more natural, and that is so important. That's something that I did not do. I did not use what I was learning or what I was trying to learn. I just thought, okay, it's in there, it's fine. But then when it came to producing Japanese, if you asked me to speak it, after years of learning it, if you had asked me to speak any Japanese, I would not have been able to. And it put me at such a disadvantage that I am still recovering to being so far behind from where I could have been. Another thing that I do now that I wish I did then was I implement the language into daily life. So I don't have a mindset that the language learning is a separate thing from my day-to-day habits. I don't have it as a separate thing, because if you have that mindset that it's a separate thing, you're not going to learn as much as you could, because sometimes we'll have like a list. Gotta do this today, gotta do this today, gotta study this language today, gotta do that today. What happens if you miss that? What happens when you create these barriers of this is just normal time and then this is study time, is you're depriving yourself of so many chances to learn so many things. You're missing out on a lot. So instead of thinking that way, I do the things that I do daily, that I do every day, that I incorporate that language into them. So if I'm already going to watch someone play a new game that came out, if I'm gonna watch a playthrough, I'm gonna look up that same video but in my target language. If I'm already going to make a shopping list, I'm going to write the list, I'm going to write everything in that list in my target language. And so on and so forth. If I'm already going to journal, journaling in that language gives me that use that I would not get otherwise. And it's very nourishing to your brain because you're using it. Your brain is a muscle, and if you don't use it, it gets weaker. So when you do this, when you implement your language into your day-to-day life, you are keeping it fresh and you're staying on top of it and you're reviewing in a sort of indirect way, and it's so helpful to do that. And I never did that before, but I can imagine not doing it now. It really is just a matter of mindset and not creating a separation in just mixing languages into your day-to-day life. If that's what's important to you, you will learn so much faster. And ultimately, reducing your own mother tongue, just cutting it out, not even all the way, just by half, you are helping yourself so much, and you will see so much improvement very quickly. I promise you. You will learn faster that way. So try not to make that distinction in your mind. All of it comes together. Implement your language learning into your day-to-day life. Don't separate the two. It all comes together. Your notes, watch your videos, play your games. You can set your phone to your target language. It helps so much. It's immersion, and immersion, especially on a comprehensive level. So make sure this is stuff that you can understand, and stuff that you can. So don't go crazy with it, or you will overwhelm yourself. But just little by little, just implement it into your daily life. It'll help. Another thing that I didn't do that I do now is when I'm learning new material, I intentionally seek out the material that is applicable to myself and my lifestyle. And that can really make you seem more fluent. If you're someone who is very interested in fantasy, and maybe you're a cosplayer, you're kind of geeky, and that's your whole world, and you love it. Learn vocabulary that is applicable to that. Knowing a bunch of super techie vocabulary or strictly business related vocabulary, if you're not going to be in a tech setting or a business setting, that's not going to be as important for you to know now. You're gonna learn everything if that's your goal. You're gonna learn everything. And if you're doing it right, you're gonna learn everything. But learn in order of priority. It will help you so much, and it will make you more confident because you'll be able to use what you learn faster. So if you are into that stuff, you like geeky stuff, learn geeky vocabulary. Learn stuff that you'll be able to use with your friends. Learn stuff you'll be able to use in your day-to-day life immediately. Don't prioritize the stuff that you don't need as much yet. Learn stuff that you already use in your native tongue. It's just a transfer, and it will make you so much more confident to be able to use these things, because if you just learn what is fed to you by companies that don't know you and they're just trying to sell their app or their course that the beginner is supposed to learn, or stuff that you're supposed to learn at an intermediate level, they don't know you, they don't know your life. They're just trying to profit. Learn what you need to learn for yourself. It's very important. It will help, I promise. I touched on this earlier. Another thing that I didn't do before that I do now. It goes back to balance. Prioritize grammar. You need grammar. I know that it's fun to look at all the words and be like, oh, I want to know this, I want to know that, I want to know. I cannot stress enough, you need grammar. It's so important. They go hand in hand. The words are useless if you don't know how to use them. They are completely useless. They will rust to nothing in your brain, and then they'll dissolve because you can't use them, so you're wasting your time, okay? It's about balance. That's not saying not to learn vocabulary. It's saying that you must learn them both if you want to use the language and you want to understand the language that you're learning, or languages. This one is going to be a relatively quick one. If you're an absolute beginner, you're probably gonna want to try to use Google Translate. If you are intermediate, you're gonna hear everyone around you say, never use Google Translate. Here's the thing with Google Translate and most translating apps and services. You can use them, but I very strongly recommend don't just put in a word and expect an accurate representation of what you want, because context is everything. Give whatever search engine context. Don't just type the word in. Type in a sentence that uses that word so that you can get the most natural and accurate feedback possible. And that is so important. You will embarrass yourself. Please listen. Type a whole sentence in. And then don't just stop there. Take the sentence that is given back to you, take your results, the translation, and pop it into those apps I told you about earlier, HelloTalk, Tandem, HiNative, and ask if it sounds natural. Ask a native speaker. If it does, then study it. But not a second before. I highly recommend being very cautious with that. And these tools are very helpful. I personally, I don't like when people say, oh, you never use Google Translate. I get it, but there can be benefits to it. You just have to know how to use it. Provide it with context and get corrections. That's all I can say, and you should be okay. Okay, essentially, I think that's... Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. I know I'm gonna forget something. I can make a part 2 of this, so let me know if you would like that. Quick recap of everything that I talked about. I review everything that I learn. I learn from native context. I am consistent. I prioritize quality over quantity, and I do it. It's really a daily thing, or as just as often as you can. Like I said, I cannot stress this enough. 5 minutes a day can make a difference. 5 minutes a day over 5 hours a day like every 2 weeks. Being careful how you use translating services, talking to native speakers. Use the language or languages. You have to use them or you will not get better. You have to use them. It's not enough to just, oh, well, I saw it on my phone, so it's in my brain. No, please use it. Speak it, listen to it, read it, and write it. All those things, learn and study in a balanced way. It will help you so much. Implement the language into your daily life. Learn vocabulary that is specifically applicable to you and your lifestyle and your interests. What else? I think that's about it. Yeah. So what? Yeah. You got 8 tips, and those are the things that made the biggest difference for me, retaining very little and not even being able to really speak, honestly, after years of learning, versus when I started taking it seriously in 2001 and am now so much more confident. I can read so much more, I can understand so much more, I can speak so much more. It's really these adjustments that can make or break your language learning journey. So I hope that my failures and my time wasted, it wasn't a waste because it was a learning experience, but I hope that you can learn from my mistakes and that these helped you in any way. Also, I would love to hear, what are the mistakes that you made in the beginning of your language learning journey? Are you guilty of any of these? If you are, that's totally fine. It doesn't mean you're doomed, but yeah, gravitating away from those can help you so much. Okay, so if anything in this video resonated with you, or if you learned anything from it, or you just found it interesting, please let me know with maybe a comment or a like. It would really mean a lot. I'm a small channel, I'm just starting, and I would love to connect with you guys and build a little community on here. I want to hear from you, and I think I only have I guess this will be my 3rd or 4th video on here now. And yeah, I just want for us to grow, and I'm really excited about the journey, and yeah. So show your appreciation if you can, or if you want to. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day or night. This is Lingo Lily, or Lingo.LilyBug, and I'll talk to you later.